The sharp scent of maple wood filled the small Connecticut workshop. Shavings spiraled to the floor around Michael Stone's calloused hands as his knife carved through the block with steady precision. For 2 years, this had been his rhythm. Wood, knife silence, and the soft humming of his 8-year-old daughter Emma somewhere in the house. It was the only peace he had known since the night his world shattered. But that morning, the quiet cracked. Outside, a sleek black BMW idled against the curb, its glossy frame gleaming like a predator in the mist. A man in a $1,000 suit stood there, clutching a manila envelope against his chest as though it were his last breath. His eyes were hollow, sleepless, and desperate. Michael froze mid-cut, his steel-gray gaze locking onto the stranger. He knew that look, the look of someone who had begged the world for hope and come up empty. The man stepped forward, shoes crunching on gravel. His voice shook when he spoke. "My daughter," he said, "she hasn't moved in 6 months. The doctors, they say there's nothing left to do. I've spent everything, money, connections, favors, but she's fading. Please." Michael set the knife down slowly, his jaw clenched, ghosts flickering across his face. "You've got the wrong person," he muttered. But the man shook his head. "No, I know who you are. You're Dr. Michael Stone, head of neurosurgery, Yale, New Haven. You performed miracles and disappeared." Michael felt his chest tighten. The name he had buried rose like a curse. He had left that world behind, along with the operating table where his wife's heart had stopped beating beneath his hands. "Let me help her," he finally whispered, though every instinct told him to slam the door. The man exhaled a shuddering breath of relief. "My name is Richard Wellington. My daughter's name is Sarah. She's 16, and she's given up." Michael had chosen Millbrook to disappear, a small town where secrets stayed buried under autumn leaves and polite nods. He carved rocking horses and toy soldiers for neighbors, trying to convince himself he was just a craftsman, not a man who once held futures in his hands. But Richard Wellington, CEO of Hartford Insurance, had found him anyway. Money had failed him. Doctors had failed him. And now he stood in Michael's doorway, the picture of wealth brought to its knees by love. That night, Michael lay awake listening to Emma's soft breathing down the hall. He remembered Elena, his wife, dying under surgical lights while his steady hands trembled for the first time. He remembered swearing never to pick up a scalpel again. Yet the image of Sarah, 16, brilliant, broken, haunted him. And the next day, Michael agreed to meet her. The Wellington mansion rose from manicured lawns like a fortress of wealth. Marble fountains and fine art adorned its halls, but the house felt hollow, like grief had sucked the warmth from its walls. Rosa, the housekeeper, led him upstairs. "She has not left her room in weeks," she whispered. "She does not speak to anyone. She blames herself for surviving." At the end of a long corridor, Michael knocked. The door creaked open to reveal Sarah in her wheelchair, staring out at the fading autumn through a wide window. Music hummed softly from a speaker, something classical and mournful. She didn't turn when he entered. "You can leave," she said flatly. "I don't need another specialist telling me to stay positive." Michael studied her, the sharp intelligence in her eyes dulled by despair, the posters of bands and books gathering dust, the untouched paints on a shelf. She reminded him of himself after Elena's death. Hollow, guarded, angry. "You're right," Michael said softly. "I'm not here to fix you. Sometimes terrible things happen for no reason, and no amount of speeches makes it better. I'm here because maybe we're both lost, and sometimes it helps to be lost together." For the first time, Sarah turned, surprise flickering in her green eyes. "Then why are you here?" she whispered. "To remember what it feels like to create something again," he said. The next morning, Michael arrived with a worn leather bag and a small block of basswood. He wheeled Sarah's chair into the garden, beneath the canopy of a golden oak. "First lesson," he said, pressing the wood into her hands. "Every piece has a story. Scars, grain, weather. You don't fight it, you work with it." Sarah traced the grooves with tentative fingers. "It's warmer than I thought." "Alive." "Almost." "Exactly," Michael said. "Wood never really dies, it just transforms." A day by day they carved. A bird, a flower, a tree. Each slip of her hand was met not with scolding but with possibility. Not a mistake. Michael told her when she cursed over a goge, a beginning of something unexpected. Slowly Sarah's hand steadied. Her laugh returned in fragments. She began reading again, even messaging friends. The girl who had locked herself in silence was learning to breathe through wood and knife. 3 weeks in, Sarah studied him with sharp suspicion. "You hold tools like a surgeon," she said. The way you watch me, the way you adjust my chair. You're not just a woodworker. Michael froze. I studied medicine once, he offered. But Sarah was too sharp. You were a doctor, weren't you? A surgeon. His silence told her everything. Anger flashed in her eyes. So this carving, the friendship, was it all an experiment? Was I just your lab rat? No, Michael said firmly, stepping closer. The carving is real. You matter to me, Sarah. But yes, I was a neurosurgeon, and I failed the one person who mattered most. My wife. That's why I ran. Her fury trembled into heartbreak. Then why help me? Because when I saw you, Michael whispered, I saw the same look I see in the mirror every morning, the look of someone who lost faith, and I couldn't walk away. Before Sarah could respond, another voice cut across the garden. Dr. Stone. A tall man approached, silver-haired, commanding Dr. James Morrison, a renowned neurologist, and Michael's former rival. He held up Sarah's MRI scans showing new neural activity in her motor cortex. This is extraordinary. Your so-called art therapy is triggering neural reconstruction. You've been experimenting on her, Michael, whether she knew it or not. Sarah's face went pale. She backed her wheelchair away, betrayal raw in her eyes. You used me. Michael reached for her, voice breaking. Sarah, listen, don't lie to me. She snapped, retreating into the house. Michael's chest ached with the weight of her shattered trust. He had promised honesty and failed. Days passed in silence. When Sarah finally summoned him, it was in a hospital conference room with her neurologist present. Her voice was steady. Tell me everything. Your research. The carving. The truth. Michael explained his theories on neural reconstruction, his belief in fine motor training to reroute damaged pathways, the early successes, until Elena's death destroyed his career. So the carving wasn't just art, Sarah said quietly. It was designed to heal me. Michael nodded. But your courage, your persistence, that was all you. Science doesn't give someone the will to fight again. That came from you. For a long moment, Sarah stared at the small bird she had carved weeks earlier. Finally, her voice softened. Then maybe I can forgive you. But from now on, everything is on my terms. No secrets. No lies. Michael bowed his head. Deal. Spring sunlight bathed the Wellington garden the morning Sarah felt it. A faint tingling in her left leg. She thought it was phantom pain. But scans revealed something else, new neural pathways forming, proof that her brain was finding ways around the injury. For the first time since the accident, Sarah dared to hope. News spread quickly. Researchers begged to study her. Morrison tried to claim credit, but Sarah refused to be used again. At 16, she stood before doctors and demanded ethics, consent, and transparency. I'll participate in research, she declared. But I'm not a lab rat. I decide my future. Her defiance turned her into a voice for patients everywhere. Months passed. Sarah gained limited movement, enough to take steps with crutches. But she no longer defined herself by walking. She taught carving to neighborhood kids, filled her home with laughter again, and spoke publicly about compassion in medicine. 1 year later, she stood, supported by crutches, before an auditorium at Harvard Medical School. Her voice carried clear and strong. Medicine is not just science, she said. It is trust. It is honesty. It is healing done with people, not to them. The room erupted in applause. From the back, Michael watched, pride softening the lines of grief on his face. His redemption hadn't come from scalpels or research papers. It had come from a broken girl who reminded him that healing begins with truth. As Sarah stepped down from the stage, she glanced back at him with a smile, one that said, "We're not broken anymore." And in Michael's workshop, a small wooden bird still perched on the shelf, wings spread wide in permanent flight. A reminder that even shattered lives can be carved into something beautiful again.